So with 208,000 plus residents in Fayetteville, not everybody's going to agree on every position of every topic all the time, but you're trying to do the greater good for the greatest amount of people the majority of the time or all of the time. So it's a challenge for sure.
Hello and welcome to The Nice Show. News, information, conversation, and entertainment on ccnc.news. This is the newest media portal for Cumberland County, North Carolina. Now, if you have a podcast or if you know someone who does, I'd love to chat and get that podcast on this portal. My name is Charles Bosworth. Some of you know me as Boz or Charlie. And if we don't know each other, well, don't be afraid to say hi sometime. Thanks for clicking the play button. And what you just heard was a clip from my interview with Deno Hondros, who is seeking your vote in City Council District 9 here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We will spend the next 30 minutes talking with Deno and learn what his vision is as a city councilman for Fayetteville would be should he be elected. Now, just to be clear and transparent, I have invited all municipal candidates on this podcast, and I only received reply from 7 of the 20 candidates. 2 of the 7 have schedules that conflict with my recording schedule, so we won't be hearing from them. Now, up to this point, we have heard from Peter Pappas for District 6, Kathy Jensen, District 1, Johnny Dawkins, District 5, and today we will hear from Deno Hondros for District 9. A reminder, if you are listening to this podcast before July 23rd, early voting is underway, and you can cast your vote at the Board of Election office located at 227 Fountainhead Lane here in Fayetteville. On July 26th, you will be able to vote at your normal polling place. These are the municipal elections for City Council and Mayor only. Also, I want to give a special thanks to publisher Bill Bowman from Up and Coming Weekly for allowing me to use his conference room to record these interviews. And be sure to pick up your copy of Up and Coming Weekly that's available at many locations around Cumberland County. Also, a special thanks to Linda McAllister for her support, taking the pictures, and helping to get the word out about these interviews. Now, let's get started. We are continuing our series on interviewing the candidates for the elections that are coming up here. Early voting is on right now, but we're going to continue our conversation today with Deno Hondros. He is running for District 9, and I want to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite, and election day now is the 26th, Tuesday.
So this is something different for the community. Elections usually happen in November, but last November elections didn't happen because of various things, the census and the pandemic kind of pushing things back. Redistricting also, I think, had a play in that. So here we are with elections coming up. Many people are not aware that this is happening, and so we want to do what we can to inform people and have them come out and vote.
It's challenging enough already, Boss.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, so as you stated, as I understand it, the 2020 census was delayed by the feds. The feds were supposed to have the data to the states by December 31st, 2020, and I think they finally got them to the states in like June of 2021. And then, as you mentioned, that kind of is the catalyst for the redistricting, and with 3 or 4 months there was no way they could draw the maps and adopt the maps to have the elections in November. So this July general election, municipal election, is actually the 2021 election cycle. So in 2023 in November, we'll be doing it all over again. So
it's a very short term, for you. A lot of work to put in for the short term, but hopefully it will work out to be beneficial in the long run.
So our current mayor and sitting council members are serving 2 years plus these few months. So yes, whoever gets elected, they'll have just a year and a few months, a year and 5 months, I think, by the time you get sworn in and take it over. And then there'll be, again, another 2023 election cycle. I think that one's going to go off as scheduled.
It's hard enough to get people to get out and vote in November. It's July. People are on vacation. There's less people are around, and when people don't even know that they have the elections coming up, a lot of people didn't get absentee ballots.
It's challenging for sure. That's in addition to getting our message out, just trying to inform people that may not know that this election will be, because we had the primaries together in May for a lot of the midterms in the fall. So a lot of folks, even in congratulating me in June, were like, hey, congratulations, we'll vote for you again in November. And I'm like, wait, it's going to be July, not November. So it's definitely an extra layer of challenge there to try to get people to the polls. Again, we were out there a little bit this morning. Early voting started, and I even have to catch myself because I say early voting's July 7th through the 23rd, but it actually does not encompass the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Only the 23rd, which is a Saturday, can you early vote. It's the only day. So no other Saturday and Sunday. So it's really the 7th and the 8th, and then it picks up 11 through 15, and then it picks up whatever the next week, 19 through the 22nd should be Friday, and then the 23rd, that's Saturday. So the other Saturdays and Sundays in there, you're not allowed. The Board of Elections is closed. So
right.
And there's only one early voting site. That's another challenge. So I think it's 227 Fountainhead Lane, Board of Elections headquarters. That's the only early voting site in the primary because, again, it was with the midterms. We had, I think, 7 early voting sites. So, but anybody can go vote at Board of Elections and during early voting, and then on the 26th election day, you'll have to go to your home precinct, wherever that is.
So many things that are inconsistent and so many obstacles to overcome, and it's hard enough to get people to go vote. And now you have all these additional obstacles that's just going to slow some people down. Obviously, not everybody, but some people are just going to. It's just you get that whole, well, is it really worth it kind of a mentality, and obviously it is, but
sure.
It's making people do a little bit of jump through extra hoops, as you said.
Well, only those voices that vote are heard when it comes to voting, just like when it comes to other meetings. Only the people that show up have their voices heard. So
right.
If we choose not to participate, we're still paying for it with our tax dollars. If it's municipal or government funded, which at the end of the day is taxpayer funded, right? So,
right.
Typically, if my tax dollars are paying for some of it, I'd like to have my voice heard. So
no doubt. Well, we've gotten into the election information. I want to let people know about who you are. Tell us about your history here in Fayetteville. And let people know who you are.
I'm a Fayetteville native by way of Greece. I was born right here at Cape Fear Valley. My grandfather, my parents immigrated from Greece and worked hard for many years. They came here for a better life, a better opportunity, the American dream. My sisters and I are first generations born here in the States. Our first language was actually Greek, so English was our second language. We really didn't learn English till we went to elementary school. We actually went to pre-K and started learning our ABCs and how to kind of coexist with the other students that were predominantly English speaking. So, but our parents were hard workers. We kind of learned our work ethic from them. They provided us with a loving home, clothes on our back, and shelter. But if we wanted the extras, we had to earn it. So a hard day's work or a day's work was non-negotiable in our household. So they provided us with basic clothing. If I wanted the name brand Nike or Reebok or Air Jordans or whatever, I had to pay for those. So my first job was at 11 years old, wrapping baked potatoes in aluminum foil. And from there, spent many years, probably 30 in my lifetime, in food service industry. And for the last 23 years, been in the real estate industry, focusing predominantly on commercial and industrial real estate, not so much the residential. So I started out living off of Bragg Boulevard near Krispy Kreme. We moved to District 9 in the home I reside in today back in 1988. Again, first job at Captain Jerry's Seafood was in District 9. Living here my whole life, product of Cumberland County Schools. After graduation, went to Fayetteville Tech, which is in District 9. After graduating high school and while attending Fayetteville Tech, And with the help of my parents, we relaunched and rebranded a business they had, Empire Bakery, to Empire Bakery and Deli, adding a little sandwich shop in the front. And I owned and operated that business for 4 or 5 years. And I joke with folks, I had at that point about 10 years, 8 or 10 years food service or restaurant experience, that cooking is an art, but baking is a science. So while I enjoyed cooking, baking was not really my forte. So I quickly learned that it wasn't really for me. So again, after 4 or 5 years, I decided to pursue other ventures. And that's kind of where I was at a crossroads in my life, and I decided to get into real estate. So when I decided to get into real estate, it was never really to sell homes. It was more to help small businesses get opened and succeed. And based off the hard work ethic and the customer service I gained in the restaurant and food service industries, we've been doing just that, helping folks get their business, their dream opened and started and thriving for the last 23 years.
Excellent. So how do you take that experience and bring it to the local, municipal government? You're looking to, be elected for District 9. What are the experiences that you've had that you bring that you would use as a councilman?
Well, so not all real estate brokers are realtors, but I've been a realtor for over 20 years. And as realtors, we have additional training. We have code of ethics training we take every couple years. So we pledge as realtors to not discriminate for race, creed, color, sexual orientation, sex, familial status. There's a whole slew of, basically treat everyone equal. And cooperating, whether it's with other brokers, whether it's with our clients, and conflict resolution. These are all things that we practice on a daily basis. And while we do it in the professional field for clients, I think all of those transition smoothly over to local government and using those same ethics for constituents or representing the best interest of the public. So a lot of those things, building bridges, just working, collaborating. Obviously, for example, District 9 has over 24,000 residents. City of Fayetteville, once you're elected, you represent the whole city. I mean, you represent your district, sure, but anyone's vote on council, if a policy passes, it affects me, whether they're my district rep or not. So you're essentially representing all of Fayetteville. So with 208,000 plus residents in Fayetteville, not everybody's going to agree on every position of every topic all the time.
Right.
But you're trying to do the greater good for the greatest amount of people the majority of the time or all of the time. So it's a challenge for sure. But I think if you get out in the streets, and I'm out in the public every day, visiting with clients, visiting with prospective clients, and just out in public. I mean, District 9, the majority of my life's been there. Like I said, from first job to where I reside. Cross Creek Mall is there, the whole Cross Creek Mall commercial corridor. So whether it's live, work, or play, I mean, District 9 is kind of the heart of the city, the way the city's kind of grown from east to west. But getting out and talking to people, and they'll let you know what their passions are, what they're really passionate about. So just talking to people, that's kind of, I don't consider elected officials some elite ruling class, especially on the municipal level. We're all neighbors. So right. Even my opponent, I don't think of her as an enemy of sorts. She's a neighbor. So I don't foresee, I'm not going to put my house on the market and sell it and move if District 9 was to not choose me to represent them. So I don't foresee my opponent doing that either. So whether we're going to have to live together one way or the other. So we may as well need to get along. And everybody has different perspective on things, but as long as our elected officials, I prefer to look at it as public servants. We're there to serve the public. As long as my representative is doing what they feel is best for our district and our city, I can live with that.
What was what's the catalyst that made you decide that you want to run?
Well, we've had some good things in my life. Been here over 45 years. Fayetteville's come a long way. Downtown's come a long way. I remember when Fayetteville had 70, 80,000 people, and we have over 200,000 now. So, but we always have opportunity to do better. getting involved. I served on the City of Fayetteville Stormwater Advisory Board. I served as chairman. I'm currently serving as vice chairman of that board. Through that, served on the UDO, the City of Fayetteville Uniform Development Ordinance Task Force. Was able to serve on, had the pleasure of serving on the City Spirit meetings, which the committee was their mission. They were charged with the repurposing of the Market House. Also got to serve on the Murchison Road neighborhood choice plan, how to revitalize Murchison Road corridor. And the more you get involved, the more you want to do. But all those committees, with the exception of the stormwater, is not a sitting board. It's more of an ad hoc committee where it's just it's not a perpetual where you get appointed to it, serve a term. It's more they're given a task and they just operate until that task is completed. But if you get on we spoke before about the 24 or 26 boards, however many boards it is that the city has, you can only serve on one of those at a time. So they say if you want to serve on more of those boards, because there's planning, there's zoning, there's airport commission, which my wife served on, Parks and Rec, pretty much every department of the city that spends money. But to sit on more than one of those boards at a time, they say if you want to do that, you just need to get into politics because you can only serve on one at a time. So that's kind of where you're at. When you've lived here as long as I have and you're passionate about the city and you love the city, for so long we get busy with our family life and with our career that sometimes it's kind of takes a back seat, but I figured it was time to give back. So again, we have a good base. We just celebrated the Visionaries, the downtown Visionaries that kind of revitalized, they were the catalyst for the change downtown. Had several mayors and former council members that came before us that gave us a great foundation. So it's up to us, the current generation, future generations, to kind of take it to the next level to really make Fayetteville whatever we want it to be. I mean, I think the sky's the limit. I'm one of those types of people where if someone has a great idea, let's say Fayetteville wanted a world-class aquarium, or there's been talk about a river walk with Kafer River. There's been talk about a performing arts center. Whatever we want, the sky's the limit. I'm not one of those people that likes to hear or wants to be told why we can't do something or shouldn't do something. I'm more of a let's figure out how we can do it. So I think the citizens of Fayetteville collectively need to decide the level of service we want or what amenities we want, and then it's up to our elected officials and city staff to make it happen.
It's very refreshing to hear that. And has there been anything over the past few years that's happened that when you look at how things have played out and you say, well, if I was on town council, I would have done things a little bit differently?
Well, a lot of good things happened in the last couple of years, and then we've also had a lot of challenges with the pandemic. That's something that none of us can really, a virus, for example, in a pandemic, it doesn't play politics. It's not left or right. It's not, it just exists. So there's nothing we can, once that got out, it's no putting that genie back in the bottle. But yeah, I'm not one for mandates. I think back in 2020 on the state level, the governor had a mandate, wearing masks or staying home, and having the government on any level decide what industries are essential and what businesses aren't. The restaurant and bar industry was hurt for a long time. Health and fitness centers were hurt for a period of time. Luckily, real estate was always deemed essential, so we never really quit working. We went right along the whole time. But to say that we weren't affected, it affects everybody. If a sector of businesses or industry is shut down, it kind of affects us all. So I think there was a period of time, a short period in 2021 where we had a local kind of a mask mandate. I just feel, it's not a matter to me of whether a mask is effective or not. It's more of a principle of, does government have the authority to say that? It's always been whatever you as an individual feel is best for you and your family. You have your research, you have your God-given wisdom and common sense to kind of decide. And when you start encroaching maybe into someone else and telling them what they should or shouldn't do, I'm not sure that's government's place.
Right. And so looking forward to being elected, and you probably had some time to look at the current issues that are on the table and things that are going to be happening in the future. What are some of the things that you want to address if you were elected?
Well, and being out during the campaign season, meeting with folks, whether individually or in groups, really issues or things that people were passionate about that they shared with me was crime, speeding. Obviously, the murders is probably the most egregious crime, right? Because there's no coming back. But on every level, you'll hear a lot in the campaign season about economic development and quality of life issues. But if the city's not safe, or if citizens don't feel safe, so whether it's real or whether it's perceived, because you can debate the numbers. I think the last report, the overall crime was down, but the violent crime was up, or however you can play the statistics to kind of say what you want to an extent. But whether it's real or perceived, if citizens don't have the feeling of being safe, or if it's a reality that it's just not safe, then that negatively impacts everything else we're trying to do, from economic development, from recruiting industry, from what good is we could have the best parks in the world if it's not safe to go there, then it's not. But I think it's easy to, I guess it's to an extent, it's human nature. It's easy to complain, or it's easy to point out the negatives, and sometimes we don't take the time to appreciate the positives. I mean, for all, and I'm a big Fayetteville guy, cheerleader, have been my whole life. I mean, people talk about this place or that place, and if I would have wanted to live in those places, I could have went and lived there. I live here because I chose to make Fayetteville my home. But we have a lot of things going for us. My wife is a native from the Bronx, strong Latina woman, and she has to be to put up with me. But she's a staunch advocate and supporter of our Parks and Rec, and she gets just as frustrated as I do. For me, it's more of a like a Fayetteville pride thing, being a native. But even she gets defensive when people say, "Oh, there's just nothing for people to do here," because we have an 11-year-old son, just turned 11 in June. And she's always finding programs and activities to put him in. A lot of them are through Parks and Rec, but there's other places too, and most of them are free or very little cost for enrollment. So I think we do well. We have a world-class skateboard park. A lot of communities would like to have a skateboard park like that. But there's always opportunities to do better. I think we have 4 pools now. We could certainly have more pools. We could certainly have, I think when it comes to our youth, there should be almost no limit. I mean, the more programs and positive outlets and alternatives we can provide for our youth, I think that goes a long way. We talked about crime. If we catch them young and give them something productive to do with their time, there's less of a chance they'll get into that vicious cycle of what may start as a small crime, petty crime, that turns into something larger as they age out. There is, I think, a little bit of a gap. Once the teenagers get 14, 15, 16 years old, till they're 18 to 21, when you're 18, 21, you just start doing adult things. But that kind of older teenager, young adult, maybe there's not quite as many opportunities as there could be. But we have a good base, with our Parks and Rec and all the other amenities and programs that are provided in the city, whether it's public or private. So we just need to build upon those.
So if you get elected, what's one of the first things that you want to bring to the table as far as issue to say this? Let's work on this.
Well, public safety is one. Kind of my 3 tenets. Transparency and accountability is another. A passion of mine is the like, just as the advisory boards are citizens' voice and they serve on those, the city council has various committees that the council members sit on, and kind of how I got started with the boards and commission. There's an appointment committee, so I'd love to serve on that board to get more citizens appointed to the various boards they apply for. Also, as I started out with the Stormwater Advisory Board, I'd love to serve on the Stormwater Committee. Also, workforce housing, being a realtor. So one thing a lot of folks don't know, on a national level, we're about 5.5 million units of supply short of housing units. We're short at the state level. I can't remember the exact number, but in our local market, our local housing market, which is more than Fayetteville and Cumberland County, it encompasses a little bit of Hoke County, Lee County, Moore County, Harnett County, pretty much our Fayetteville MSA. We're over 20,000 units short. So that impacts the housing market in general, but even for affordable housing, I feel that everybody should be afforded the opportunity to live where they labor. And so I think we could definitely have some opportunities to tackle that. And the city and government doesn't always have to be the end-all, be-all. It doesn't have to. Government is not always equipped to provide us with all the services the most efficiently or effectively. So it may be that there's folks in the private sector that do that. So the most effective and efficient way to tackle that may be to look at fostering an environment, facilitating more public-private partnerships. So it's not that government has to take that on by itself. And another avenue, I think, when it comes to workforce housing, that we would be wise to research and explore is land trusts. Other communities, we don't always have to reinvent the wheel, right? The city staff a lot of times does research, and they like to compare us to peer cities. So we can look at other peer cities and see what they've done in the way of workforce housing and what's worked and what hadn't. I know land trusts are used in other communities. So as I understand it, there's various funding models and ownership models with land trusts. So we can research those and see which ones are best for our communities and our city and kind of adopt those.
That's really good ideas to tackle. Is there anything else that you are interested in letting the people in your district know about you that kind of sets you apart from your opponent that would draw them to vote for you?
Well, I could just tell you that who I am as a person. You always know what you're getting with me. I typically keep my head down, my nose clean, and my sleeves rolled up. As I mentioned, we were raised in a home of hard workers, so that's all we know how to do. But again, there's so many people that live in the district, so many people that live in the city. I would love to say if I got elected, I could wave my magic wand and fix all of the city's problems. We both know that's not the case. But I can say that on every position, every issue that comes up, not everyone is going to maybe be happy with the position that I took on an issue, but they can rest assured that I took that position not for personal gain or for some alternate agenda. It's because I took that position because I believe that's what's best for the city at that time.
Yeah, sometimes doing what's right is not doing what's popular, so that's a difficult position to be in.
Well, that's true, but as we mentioned earlier, you try to please the most of the people as much of the time as possible. So.
Right. You do what you can. Well, Deno, I want to thank you for coming and spending some time with us. We're coming up on the 30-minute mark, so I want to be respectful of your time and say thank you again for joining us here on The Nice Show, and so we can learn about you. How can people, get in touch with you if they have questions, they want to talk with you about some things, they want to see what your ideas are for issues that they have?
The easiest way nowadays is just to get on our website, fayfirst.com. That's FAYFIRST.com. So on there, they'll have you can email me. My cell number's there, 910-802-0076. That's my cell phone. Actually, Deno at Fayfirst, my first name, Deno at fayfirst.com. Anybody can email me. But if you go to our website, you can learn more about us. It has our vision and some of our platforms, some of our videos. Shoot me a link to this podcast. We'll put it on there.
Oh, great. Glad to hear that. Well, I want to let people know you're very approachable, fun to talk with you, and I think that if anybody has any questions, they should definitely reach out to you. These elections are important, and being represented is important, and having a good person with the community's interests in mind is that's what this is all about. And talking with you, I get that sense that you're going to be that person for the community.
I appreciate that. Our mission is to make Fayetteville first. That's why we tried to get the Faye First as our website home. So we want to make Fayetteville the best Fayetteville we can be for all the residents. So.
Awesome. So Deno Hondros, running for District 9 here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Thank you for tuning in to The Nice Show. It's news, information, conversation, and entertainment on ccnc.news.
Thank you again to publisher Bill Bowman for allowing me to use the up-and-coming conference room, and Linda McAllister for all of her support in getting this podcast out there. Last but not least, thank you for clicking the play button and listening to the end. The podcast will be available on all major platforms soon, so check back to the website and find your favorite place to listen where you can subscribe. More interviews are on the way, so don't miss them. Subscribe to the newsletter at ccnc.news, and you can learn about the logo contest that I will be having. We need a new logo, and I would like to reach out to the community to find some talented graphic designers to design a new logo and offer a prize for that logo. So until next time, remember to exercise your right to practice the golden rule and treat others the way you want to be treated in every instance of every interaction that you have with others. Plant seeds of success in your mind's garden and watch your world change.